"Choose any woman you want," the sheriff said, until the little twin girls pointed with trembling fingers and whispered, "Papa, that's her." From that moment, the room stopped breathing. The laughter, the smell of whiskey, the shuffle of boots on wooden floorboards, all of it froze in time. The woman everyone looked at wasn't dressed like a prize to be chosen. Her clothes were dusty, her eyes hollow, her hands clutched around the straps of a worn satchel. But when those little girls spoke, she looked up, and something inside her cracked open. She hadn't heard anyone call her "Mama" in almost 5 years. The sheriff cleared his throat, his voice losing its edge. "Now, girls, maybe you got the wrong lady," but the girls, identical with golden braids and dirt-smudged cheeks, ran to her anyway. They clung to her skirt, their small arms wrapping around her like they'd never let go again. And the woman, Eliza, fell to her knees, tears spilling down her cheeks before she could stop them. That was the day everything changed in the quiet frontier town of Willow Creek. Eliza had come to Willow Creek to disappear. Her past had already been burned away, or so she'd hoped. She'd buried her husband years ago after the war took more than just his life. It took their home, their savings, and her will to trust anyone again. For years, she'd worked her fingers raw just to stay alive, moving from town to town, sewing, cleaning, never speaking her full name aloud. The last thing she expected was to walk straight into the middle of someone else's trouble. Sheriff Tom Avery was the kind of man who believed in fairness, but in those times, fairness didn't always mean kindness. When he told the men at the table to "choose any woman you want," it was supposed to be a joke, a way to break the tension after a long day and too many drinks. The men laughed, most of them just lonely ranchers looking for company. But when those 2 little girls, barely 7 years old, came running from the corner of the saloon, everything inside him shifted. Tom had been the one who found the twins wandering the outskirts of town 2 weeks before. Starving. Shaking. They'd been too young to explain much, except that bad men had taken their mama and burned their home. He'd taken them in at the jailhouse, fed them, promised to find who they belonged to. But now, staring at Eliza's trembling hands as the girls clung to her, he realized maybe he'd just found them. The room started to buzz again, men whispering, some laughing, others confused. Eliza couldn't speak. Her body was shaking so hard she thought she might fall apart right there. "It can't be," she whispered, stroking the girl's hair. "It can't be them," but every freckle, every dimple, every sound of their voices pulled at her memory like a hand gripping her heart. They were hers. Her babies. The daughters she thought had died the night her home went up in flames. The sheriff dismissed the crowd, his eyes never leaving her. When the saloon finally emptied, only the sound of the rain outside remained. Tom knelt beside her, his voice soft now. "Ma'am. I don't know how, but it looks like fate brought you here." Eliza could barely answer. "I thought I lost them forever." Tom nodded slowly. "Then maybe you were meant to find them here." Weeks passed, and the small town of Willow Creek began to change. The gossip spread faster than wildfire, about the stranger woman who'd reunited with her lost children, about how the sheriff had started stopping by her porch every evening to make sure they were safe. But it wasn't romance at first. It was something deeper, a bond built on shared pain and a kind of respect that didn't need words. Eliza worked hard mending clothes for townsfolk again, her sewing machine a constant hum in the small cabin Tom helped her fix up. The twins laughed more now, running barefoot through the fields, their voices carrying over the golden grass. For the first time in years, Eliza allowed herself to breathe, but peace, in that part of the country, never lasted long. One night, the sky turned red again, not from sunset, but from fire. The same gang that had burned her home had returned, hunting for something they thought she still had, a bag of war money her husband was accused of stealing before he died. They came for her at midnight, torches in hand. Tom was there before the first window shattered. Gunfire cracked through the dark. He shouted for Eliza to take the girls and run, but she refused. "I've been running all my life," she said, her voice trembling. "Not tonight." The fight was short but fierce. Tom took a bullet to the shoulder. One of the men grabbed the twins, but Eliza swung a burning log from the hearth and struck him down with a strength she didn't know she still had. When the smoke cleared and dawn came, the gang was gone, their leader lying unconscious in the mud, and Tom was bleeding but alive. The girls clung to him, their tears mixing with the rain. "Papa, don't leave," they cried. And for the first time, Eliza didn't correct them. She just held all three of them close and whispered, "We're safe now. We're home." Months later, the sheriff's badge still gleamed on Tom's chest, but there was something gentler in his eyes. The town stopped whispering and started waving when Eliza walked by, her daughters skipping at her side. Together, they rebuilt more than a cabin, they rebuilt a life, and every evening, when the sun slipped behind the mountains and painted the sky gold, Tom would take Eliza's hand on the porch and say, "You know, I never believed in second chances until you walked into that saloon." She'd smile, her eyes soft. "Neither did I. Because sometimes, fate isn't cruel, it's just waiting for the right moment to bring you back to what you thought you'd lost forever." And in that little town of Willow Creek, under the endless sky, a woman who once had nothing found everything again: the love of her daughters, the heart of a man who'd risked everything for her, and the quiet peace of knowing that even the most broken stories can end in grace.